What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Automatic Patient Podcast. I'm your host today, Jordon Comstock. With me, co-host Dr. Dan Nelson. What is up, brother? How you doing?
Good, man. It's good to be back. I feel like we've had too long of a sojourn where we haven't recorded much lately. So it's great to be doing this again. Let's go.
Usually in the winter, Dan, I hibernate. So now that
Yes,
it's getting a little bit
in
warmer,
Hawaii.
in Hawaii, yes,
Yeah.
I'm coming out again. I'm like, hey, we should talk
Hey,
again, do a podcast.
you're coming out scratching your eyes. You're like, oh, look, the
Yeah,
world.
it's literally how I work. I'm like, it's winter. I'm angry. I don't want to. I'm hiding in
I
warm
don't
places.
blame you, man. Like, I get it. Like, I can appreciate that. I think that's the goal, right?
Yeah. So now that it's warming up and I'm waking up, we want to be doing some more podcasts. But you have some pretty cool news that I think one should be celebrated because it's cool. You guys just dropped, well, not just dropped. It took you some time.
It
You
took time.
dropped all your PPOs and you just dropped Delta Dental in January, correct?
We just dropped the mic, is what we dropped. I
Drop the
mean,
mic,
yeah,
baby.
it's yeah,
Big
we're
freaking deal.
both our practices now are fee for service. So we're a completely fee for service organization in both offices. So that's a huge deal, and not something that came about overnight. That's for sure. Like this is the culmination of a lot of planning, a lot of effort, a lot of review, a lot of discussion. So yeah, a lot of help. It's awesome. And there's a component to it that I think anybody that's thinking about doing this or who's done it can testify. It's a little terrifying too.
Yeah, sure. I would say, so how long did it take you? Was this a multi-year
Yeah,
approach?
I mean, if you're looking at the whole picture, you're probably looking at a 5-year process to go from because we were providers for a few insurance companies. And so to be working, we didn't just pull the Band-Aid off or, jerk the plug all of a sudden.
I've seen practices do that. It's
Yeah,
probably
that's
best.
I don't recommend that. Yeah, that's a rough way to go. Yeah. No, we slapped the nicotine patch on for a while and came off it slowly. It was something that took us a while, but we were pretty methodical about, dropping Blue Cross and then working away. And the funny thing about that was that we're like, we got rid of one, great. But the problem is we went from a 30% patient base of Delta Dental to 51% patient base of Delta Dental patients. And
Oh,
so
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, we saw this slide of like, oh, well, we've opened the door to the wrong avatar, right? So
Yes.
we're like, okay, well, this didn't quite go as we planned, and that's often how it goes. Is you think you have this plan, and I love the Mike Tyson quote. I've used it on this podcast before. Is that he said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So
Yep. Then
that's
you
kind of
move
how
on.
this was. So yeah, we just it's to get where we were pretty heavy in the PPO to being fee for service. It didn't happen overnight, but just to wean off of the Delta portion, the 51%, that took a year. So we started with it as a goal for 2025. When we set our goals for in January of 2025, the goal was to be out of Delta by January 1st, 2026.
Yeah, and you did it. You guys did it.
We did it. Yeah.
It's so
And
cool.
yeah, I think it's like anything else. And I think that anybody that's done a startup or a practice acquisition or anything can appreciate the stepping into the void, right? Like you think you know what's going on, but do you really, and there's so many components of unknown that make it a scary transition. But in the end, it was great. We were on a meeting with Christine Ewan with the dentist advisors this morning, and she was, we were talking about, she's like, oh, I'm so excited for you guys. And she's like, well, let me tell you, she's like, I worked with a lot of practices and none of them have regretted going fee for service. None of them.
Yeah,
She
I
was
don't,
really adamant about like nobody regrets going out of network. So
yeah, you don't hear that. Oh, I wish I would have stayed in that PPO. You never
yeah, yeah.
do.
I,
So before you guys, what, stressed out working with PPOs, looking at, the write-offs that's happening, like is that kind of what you're feeling? Like, oh, we're writing so much.
yeah. How did this decision start? Well, really for us, because we practice in Sun Valley, the overhead here is high.
Sure.
But because
Sure.
Sun Valley's in Idaho, that means that we can't negotiate, not that Delta negotiates anyway. You know, and so Delta's reimbursement rates in Idaho are bad. They're not good.
Yeah.
And they
Sounds like
reimburse.
Utah. You can't really negotiate here. It's really bad.
Delta doesn't negotiate anywhere,
Yeah.
but there are some insurance companies that can make it, a little more difficult of a decision. This was not a difficult decision, because when they don't increase their reimbursement rates for, in 22 years, that's a problem, and so while our overhead was going up, we watched
Vacation
our
costs.
yeah, all of it went up. Inflation's been brutal since COVID,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
uh,
I feel it in my company too. It's
everywhere.
everywhere. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, wage inflation. It's insane. So
Yeah, and then you throw the hygiene problem on top of that, and you have for us, it was a really big hike in overhead where we were stagnant on our reimbursements. And so in order to compensate, we're working our guts out, and so it was Jared and I looked at each other and we're like, we can't keep doing this. This is a non-functional model. This is going to eventually collapse on itself. And so we had to get a plan together. And the first part of that plan, I think this is important to note, is the first part of that plan. And I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of give an overview. I think, Jordan, that this is grounds for a lot of discussion. I think maybe
probably.
what we should talk about is a 30,000-foot view of what we did. And then I think we should get granular because it warrants the discussion.
I think so too. It's that important. And just like what you said, the cost of running a business in general, but one in dentistry is increasing and it's getting harder. And these insurance companies, if they really haven't adjusted, things for 22 years, that's a massive problem.
Well, it's
It's coming to
insane.
an
It's
end.
it's unsustainable, and but
Yeah.
here's the thing, and this is what you need to know as a dentist is that companies like Delta, their model, they don't need to do this. We know that they just bought practices in Wisconsin, right? So now there's an unprecedented change. In 2025, we saw two unprecedented changes. One of them is that Delta now owns practices. Well, that opens the floodgate for them to go haywire. In any state that it is not a law that a dentist owns the office, they can go and open offices now.
Well,
That's
now they own a what this is called from a strategy perspective is they own a multi-sided market. They own both sides now.
Well,
With
yep.
like the
They no
insurance,
longer need us, is what
yes,
that boils down to,
that gets
right? So
scary in a local market.
exactly. They are removing the middleman. We are the middleman for them. They're getting rid of that. And from a business model, it's brilliant. From a
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, from an industry model, it's terrifying, right? Like it's not good for us. It's not good. I don't care if you're a DSO or you're a private practice or you're corporate, whatever. It's
Yeah.
bad. This is not a good thing. The other thing that we saw, and this is going to raise some hackles, and that's okay. You can drop me a line and tell me how bad I suck, is that before that happened, we saw Delta positioning itself to get in bed with ADA, with the ADA.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I've had
So
podcasts on other shows around this topic. It's
yeah,
crazy.
it was a very strategic maneuver, and it came out, when you start seeing Delta big old logos in dental schools, and now they're the primary
Uh-oh.
financial backer of the ADA because ADA membership has fallen off so much. Now you have this position where they were able to go and move and buy these practices and they have the ADA in their pocket. So what's the ADA going to do? Right? Like, don't count on the ADA to come to the rescue. They're not there. They are in bed with Delta. And that was
Kind of
part of their
see,
plan.
kind of say see the same thing in like other healthcare industries where like pharmaceuticals have gotten into the schools and the associations and you see their logos and they kind of manipulate and it's kind of like industry propaganda.
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
you need insurance.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, from the business standpoint of it, you can't fault them for what they're doing, right? They're
Yeah, no,
they
I get
are
it.
they're making moves and they're taking advantage of situations as a good business should,
Yeah.
but the effect of it for for the industry, it's going to impact us a lot. And I think that is a side discussion in and of itself, like you were saying. But for us in our little podunk town in our little practice in little Podunk, Idaho, this was really we started to feel the effects of what was in motion, and we just weren't getting reimbursed enough. We were getting choked out. And so
You do a denture case and you lose money on that denture case type.
yeah, I mean,
That happens all the time.
everything we were losing money. On
Yeah.
some stuff, we were writing up to 60% off of, of that code. And so that's a non-sustainable model. So we knew it was there. We kind of held on for as long as we could, knowing that the exit was inevitable. And then looking at 2024, we were like, it has to happen in 2026. So we made that the goal for 2025. And we had some key components in place, and I think that this is really important that we didn't just rush into this. The first thing that we set up a long time ago was our patient benefit plan,
Yeah.
and that was huge because it gave us a structure that we'd already had in motion. We had pamphlets, we've had loads of marketing materials for it. We had patients that are already on it that could get testimonials and promote it from within. Our team was used to discussing it. So it wasn't this big new thing that our team had to adjust to move patients laterally out of, their insurance, their current insurance situation, and then get them into our patient benefit plan.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of the stratagem, was how many of these patients can we move laterally, keep it within the office, and just have them in our plan now. And so there was,
Yeah.
yeah, there was strategy in that, and there was purpose behind what we were doing, and we had everybody on our team rowing in the same direction for that. So that was a huge
Which,
component to have
which
in
Dan
play.
is really hard to do, like getting your team rowing. So like that's a big deal that you're able to do that and the
Yeah.
membership plan and drop PPOs. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but they were used to it. Like I said, so it's we started that program years ago. And
Yeah.
so we've been in and out of the leaderboard at BoomCloud for being the top office in the country
Hell
multiple
yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Because our team likes to promote it. We don't bonus traditionally, but that is the one thing that we do bonus on is patient benefit, new novel
Yes.
patient benefit plan members. We do
So
bonus on that.
just some data on that mindset around your mindset there. The top growing practices like on our platform at BoomCloud, uh, bonus off of new member signups.
Yeah.
And I think that's like when you look at, I like to look at trends and patterns. When you look at the patterns of what the successful ones are doing, they're always tied. That's a key component, rewarding your team members to help you because it does a couple of things, right? It gets them excited to sign up patients to a better program, a better system for patients, and a better system for the practice, right? So you align that with people, and that's literally a trend on all of the top growing practices. They all do that. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and you need to, I mean, I don't want to get it too deep into that, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you've already
yeah.
done the
You
research.
definitely have to balance any type of bonus program. You can't just be
Yeah,
like,
but incentivizing for the right thing, right?
yes,
And you marry that. So Jared and I just did a podcast on the Elevation Association Experience podcast this morning
huh?
that we were talking about um, understanding identity and having your practice have an identity and making sure your team knows what the identity is. And that was a big thing that we've done. Again, all this is lead up. Like this is not, I mean, we have our vision traction organizer set up. We've had our core values in play for years. We have our niche. We have our people, our team and our patients know the purpose of the practice. We have a very, very clear message. The mission of the practice is super clear. People understand their roles and responsibilities. We've got an amazing team in play. There's so many of these parts and pieces that come to the setup before you can now okay, now our mission is to go become fee for service. So now we change the mission, right? As far as like, what are we going to focus on 2025?
Mhm.
And, that was our goal in 2025. And so we got everybody pointing their guns in that direction and working towards that mission. And so when we started to send out, okay, so that's the next step, right? Is now that all of our preparatory work is in place, we started to formulate the letters that we would be sending out. Because for those of you who don't know, when you exit, your patients will get a letter from the insurance company saying this doctor is no longer an in-network provider. And they word it in a way
Threatening
that
too,
they're,
right?
what's that?
It's kind of a threatening letter to for you guys, right? It's like they're not.
Kinda. It's more that it's misleading because their verbiage is brilliant. Again, these are
Yeah,
companies
they're
that are
marketing
brilliant.
geniuses.
Yes, amazing marketing geniuses. So the way that they word it is that it makes it sound like you can no longer go see this provider because they're no longer in network. It doesn't say that explicitly, but if the tone is certainly that you can no longer go here anymore. And I can't begin to tell you how many patients we have that they stop me in the grocery store, they stop me at the gym, they stop me, just freaking all in the office. And they're like, "Oh, I'm so sad I can't come see you anymore." I'm like, "What? Why are you moving? Like, why can't you come see me?" And it's like, "Well, no, because you're not in network anymore." I was like, "What's that have to do with what?" I was like, "No, you can absolutely come see us."
Literally walk into my office doors today if you wanted
Yeah.
to.
I mean,
There's no, we're not gonna kick you out.
no, we want you to stay here. Like, and we tell them that, like, well, no, we want you to stay with us. Um, and not only that, but did you know that your insurance, your out of pocket is $8? That's the thing is like, that's the wild thing when you go out of network that nobody talks about, especially insurance companies, is that the contracted rates when you sign up with an insurance company, your reimbursement rates are wildly different when you go out of network.
Yeah,
And it's based a lot more on the plan that the patients have. So yeah, there are some that like they're going to pay out the nose. They'll probably just be just as good paying cash. And those are the ones that were like, well, maybe you should consider our patient benefit plan.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, like I'm that way. I actually just dropped medical insurance. I've created my own system for it, fund and everything. Because I hate insurance in general. I think it inflates everything, depending on the plans. Like what you're saying. So it's like if you realize this, and you're like, oh, I can go to just like on the medical side, I can go to a direct primary care doctor, which is a membership doctor, and I get all these services that I need anyways. That I was spending, $1,800 a month for my family on insurance, but I could just pay this doctor and get another type of plan to help with, crazy emergencies. That's kind of how I look at it too on the medical side, but it's like it's almost like it inflates the market when you're on a PPO plan.
it definitely gets regulated by the insurance companies, not by the market itself. The,
Yes, yeah,
the market has no bearing. It's completely regulated by the insurance companies.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's a wild ride to be on. So I think that the getting the power back in the hands of the providers is paramount in all of this. That's a lot of P's. I'm gonna have to think of an acronym for
Almost as
that.
much as PPO, but it's a
Yeah,
different
that was a lot of P's in a row. Um,
Paramount rubber.
yeah.
Oh, done.
Yeah. Listen, when the ADHD takes over, you just give it a lane. You just don't stop it and you let it ride, man. You never know what it's gonna spew out.
Yeah, I was okay. So we are talking about the communication. You started sending the
Yeah, so we sent letters
drafting
out.
communication.
So we formulated we did our best to craft the best letters that we could, and there was a series of letters that went out. And
Any
we
letter,
we
man.
had a date by which we wanted to send them out so that we could field the conversation within the office. So what you want to do, and again, we don't want to I'm not going to get too granular in this, but there
Yeah,
is a
we'll get them.
methodology to it, right? And so you want to have that communication both via email, text, letter, and face to face. So we started that process, and there's a lot of concerns that come from that. Patients want to know how much is it going to cost? What's my out of pocket going to
A
be?
lot of objections now.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
yeah, and you got
objections.
to you got to tackle those concerns, right? You got to work through that, and then there's the point where you finally freaking pull the plug, and you just get to this like that's the scary moment where you've packed your parachute, you've done all your homework, you've checked weather conditions, you've got your support team behind you, and now you got to jump, right? And that's the scary part. You can be as prepared as you can, but there's that point where you say, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump. Now, I want to give everyone kind of an idea of like what the jump feels like. It is not a it's not a fast fall. It takes time to find out. Most reports say it takes about a year to regulate, your practice to regulate.
Sure.
Because what you'll see is one of the things that, again, no one ever talks about this. They just say, oh, you get off, and then, it takes a
And
year. It's
it's
like, okay, fine.
happily ever after. Yeah.
So what you'll see is that you'll have a lot of patients that want to be loyal to the practice. They love you, they love your team, they love what you do, they trust you. Now they want to see the financial implications. So what they end up doing is they will get the first bill because they've just scheduled their hygiene, right? And their hygiene's February 4th, whatever. So they come in and they get their bill. Oh, it's $8. Great, no problem. My out of pocket's $8. I'm going to stay here. Maybe there's this sucky insurance and it's $200. They're like, I don't want to do this. I'm going to transfer. So what happens is your hygiene schedule starts to fall apart. And
Because
so, and it gives you panic because you see holes in your hygiene. Oh my gosh, I'm losing all my patients. Everything's going bad. Again, you need to be tracking. That's the one thing we didn't talk about, Jordan, is the setup on this is all of the KPIs that we track. Oh my gosh, so many KPIs and so many important data points that you have to track and look at, everything from annual patient value to reappointment rates. There's just a lot that you have to be able to look at and track on the lead up and then while you're going through it. Uh,
Mhm.
the data is going to be dirty for the first little bit, probably the first quarter to second quarter, because there's so much re-regulation going on within your schedule, patient flow, all that stuff. But you're going to have someone in your office who is an absolute rock star about getting patients in. Now, assuming you're exiting because you've got a patient base big enough that you can exit, that's going to mean that one or two people, three people, maybe, depending how big your office is, are going to be on the phone all day, every day, filling the schedule back up because there's going to be fallout, fallout, fallout. And
So you guys created like an outreach strategy with,
yeah, there has to be. And you have to use data for that. We use dental intel for that so
yeah.
that we actually have lists for our team to pull from. They're not just like some paper made list or Excel checklist or whatever. It is a living, breathing, active list that we can pull from that shows when they were in last, who are their family members. These are people that you can now give. This is a list that you can give your team to actively be working through to fill up the holes. So it is, you need to dedicate that person to that role for that time because it is, that's the scary part because now you're falling, right? Like that's the fall. And at some point, you got to hope that the parachute opens. And you want to be tracking your lost patients, the patients that you're losing. You obviously want to be tracking your new patient flow. That's important as well. Um,
Like the
because
reasons
attrition
why.
is huge.
Yeah, because I know, so I do an attrition meeting, just of course, I'm not a dental practice owner, but we're talking business here, right? Which is universal. So like at the end of every month, I look at attrition numbers and the reason why so that we can maybe it's a verbiage training that my team needs to have. Very similar to what you just said. I'm taking notes. Um, two of your bullet points in my notes were communication and phone outreach, which I would imagine is a lift in regards to training your team to use the right language for the outreach. And then with all the emails, the letters, like that's all training in language, which is a soft skill. And if you're not constantly training on that with your team, it atrophies because it's a soft skill, right?
Yeah, and this is one of those points that I want to get into in a later podcast, Jordan, where we can
Yeah.
really get into the nitty gritty of what that looks like. How do you train your team on this stuff? What do you not say? I think that there's more importance on what you don't say and then what you do
Filtering
say.
out what you shouldn't say. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
typically how it goes.
Yeah. And everybody's heard it when they hear it. They're like, oh, that wasn't what you should have said. You know, it's
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean,
So-
I think the whole process, it is A, it takes time, B, it takes a ton of planning, and C, it takes courage.
And the beautiful thing is, there are practices on the other side that have done this, that like yourself, that are willing to share and help educate on this because it's a big deal that you guys did this. So, just to kind of recap the bullet points of what you said is one, you have your team on an operating system that you guys are meeting and looking at data, right? That's the first thing that you essentially said is like, we made sure that we are rowing together as a team. We have the same vision, the mission. We know what we're going to do, right? We got a plan. Two, you said
Organization.
organization. Yeah. So two, you said know your data, like looking at our data, using dental intelligence in your guys' case, looking at your data and understanding the right data because you don't have to look at all the data. There's a lot of data in a dental practice. There's maybe what, 4 or 5 data points that you have to look at.
Yeah, probably five. Yeah.
Okay. And then the next thing you said is make sure you have a patient benefit plan or membership plan to retain patients and to
Pack the parachute, man. Yeah.
pack the parachute. Yeah. And to move, you said move patients over laterally. You said that a couple times.
It's right.
And then four, arm your team members with verbiage skills and a communication strategy with patients. Because, like you said, Delta Dental and all these other companies are going to send letters that are going to cause confusion. So you need to be able to break that with verbiage and communication skills. And then the fifth one is what I have here is create a proactive outreach strategy, or you call that recall
Hmm.
recall outreach, getting people back in and but using the verbiage that you need to use to say, yeah,
Right.
you can still come see us. And I think that would be an interesting episode to just do verbiage episode. Be like, okay, what's the verbiage
Yeah.
you need to train your team up, and how does that work? So if we were to bullet point list that out, did I miss anything, Dan? I think that's kind of what I wrote as you were talking.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that, if there's a take home message to be had is that it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done. This isn't new territory. It's probably new territory for you. It's new
Yeah.
territory for us, but it can be done and it can be done without too much white knuckling. There's going to be some white
Just
knuckling.
don't cancel all of your PPO contracts in one day.
Just,
Or just
yeah, yeah.
don't do that. Be strategic about it because this is a strategy. Well, how does it feel now, though, Dan? Like now that you've kind of gone through it, you're operating does it feel like you're operating a new business?
In some ways, yeah. I mean, that's a great question. First of all, it's freeing for sure. It's very liberating because I don't feel shackled. And this, it's a wild to look back. I was telling Jared this morning, we were looking over our day sheet from yesterday, and I was like, man, I'm so used to seeing the write-offs as much as the collections, and to not see that is wild. And it's like you've been dragging around this ball and chain, and now all of a sudden it's freed up. And the other cool thing is like one of our goals for 2026 was to slow down. The whole goal
You're
was to
you're
like, oh,
herding cattle through your practice now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just we need to settle down over here. We've been running at an incredible rate. And so, it's wild to look at the numbers as we're tracking all this because my daily patient flow, like my current chaos, I'm so used to absolute chaos every day. And what I mean
Yeah.
by that, it's controlled chaos, but it's like holding a stick of dynamite, right? Like every day is just crazy busy. And now we've slowed down and we're already feeling that. And it's nice. Like it is such a nice feeling to be able to focus on some of the things that I haven't been able to focus on because before I was so busy running from one op to another op to another op, and then I would have put out this fire, and I need to put out this fire on the practice management stuff or leadership role or whatever. And so it's super refreshing, it's liberating, and it's exciting. This is something that we've wanted for a while now, and so to feel the sense of accomplishment too is really awesome.
Yeah, I think it's rad. When you
Yeah.
guys told me like with the, I knew you guys were dropping PPOs, obviously, but when you told me that Delta was gone, when I talked to Ryan back in January, I was like, shit, that's awesome. Literally, I was so pumped for you guys. That rest of the day, it literally made the rest of my week. Because one, this is the reason why I started BoomCloud, because when I managed the dental lab with my dad, all the PPO pain, rolled over to the dental lab. And it was a big pain point for me at that time because I was like, I didn't sign a PPO contract, but I'm still having to deal with this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the
Well, it
reason
rolls
why
downhill.
it really does. The reason why I was so like I literally was so happy for you guys, and I was like I stopped and after I heard it from Ryan, I just stopped and thought for a second. I'm like, that is exactly the reason why I wanted to start BoomCloud is to help guys like you and Ryan and Jared get rid of the evil empire of dental
Yes.
insurance.
Yes. Shed the
Because
evil empire.
it's not a cool business model for you guys or for the patients. And I don't know. When I heard that, it really made the rest of my week. Like I was so happy for you guys. Nothing happened to me or my business. It was you guys, and it made me so happy. So I
Yeah,
think it's
man.
pretty cool if practices are really, really focused on doing this, they can do it, but it requires a couple things. One, I think they need a coach, somebody like you who's done it before. The good news is you guys have Elevation Association. You guys are coaching people all the time with this,
Yeah, we had the cheat code for sure. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start, man. We had it. Yeah.
yeah. So I run a company. I have coaches and mentors that help me. And I think that's the first thing. Like, get a coach, understand what you're trying to do, especially if it's been somebody who's gone through the journey that you guys have done. I think that's really important. Know your data, use dental intelligence, build your membership plan, use BoomCloud, and then communication. I don't know what communication software you guys use, but I would imagine you used.
Engage. So we use Dental Intel.
Okay, so yeah, so with dental intel on their communication.
Modento.
Yeah, Modento, that's right. Yeah, so it's like you got the tools right there. You just got to line them up. Where most practice, I would imagine, maybe they use one tool and it's kind of they don't like time together and be like, okay, this is the power tools that we're going to use to become fee for service. So you got coaching and strategy and tools that you could use to do this. So if you're serious about going on a network or becoming fee for service, one, we're going to continue talking about this on the podcast over the next few weeks and get more detail. But that's the 30,000 foot overview, Dan. I loved how quickly you were able to explain that to our audience. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. Like,
I know there's probably 1,000.
well, I think the biggest one is, and you just touched on it. You just hit, I'm just going to piggyback on that thought of don't do this alone. Yeah, we're built in, we've got a built-in structure, but that's available to anybody. You know what I mean? Like you don't look, there's only so much bandwidth that everybody has. One of the big things about us with EA is we recognize that docs only have so much bandwidth, and to go through and try to do all this on your own. And if you're a small practice, that's going to so a lot of it's going to feel like it has to fall on your shoulders. It doesn't have to. Like if you can get structured right and you learn the power of the who, right? Who, not how. That's a great
Yeah,
book, by the way.
that is a great book.
Then life becomes exponentially easier, and going through one of these things is far more achievable than you could ever imagine. And so just just know you don't have to gut this out and grind it out on your own if you're trying to accomplish this. Like utilize there's so many good resources like BoomCloud out there to help you to accomplish this. So, there's no reason to just, you know, grind through the minutia when you don't have to. Like get some people on board to help you to accomplish what you need to get done. And it's well worth the investment, both in time, money, all of it. You'll get a huge ROI on it. But yeah, and then the other thing without this is like reach out to us, reach out to Jordan, reach out to me, man. I love talking this stuff. So if you want to see what's worked, what
I'm not
has
a dentist and I like
scary,
talking about this stuff, dude. Am I
yeah,
weird?
Super nerdy. Like, let's talk some more nerdy stuff, you know? So yeah, that's about it. You know, that's kind of my final thoughts, I guess, is this like I'm excited to get more into this, more granular. We have so much to talk about. So this will be a fun podcast series.
Hey, with that said, thanks, Dan, and we hope everyone has a rocking day.